Hello everybody, my name is Matt.
I'm Sonja.
And welcome once again to episode 4 of our Life and Podcast, the podcast where me and my lovely wife retell some of our life stories and hope to find something that everybody out there can relate to. Sonja, how are you doing today?
Alright. You in there?
That's good to know, that's good to know. I'd like to thank the few people that have been listening to this. I know, especially audio-wise, it probably hasn't always been the easiest to listen to. It is something we're trying to constantly improve and work on.
Well, the last one definitely was a lot better than the first two, I think.
But what I'm going to say is stick with us. I've been glad for the feedback. And one of the things I want to drive across, obviously, because it's on YouTube, I do want people to like, comment, subscribe, all that dumb YouTube stuff. But what would really help is to share our podcast around. Nobody has really done that yet, and it does help extend the reach to a few other potential people. And I know some people that do listen to this actually probably have a bigger sphere of influence than we do, considerably. So please, like I said, share and get the word out there that me and my wife are making this goofy-ass podcast for your entertainment. So this week, we actually are going to be telling the story. You know, previously we talked about us meeting. This week, we're talking about our wedding. And as is probably traditionally the case, Sonja, being the woman in the relationship, did take care of a lot of the details of this wedding. So she's going to have the floor for the most part. But I will be here and tell my own stories as well. But without further ado, Sonja, please take it away.
Well, yes, I'm going to do most of the talking, just like you did on the first podcast, because I was basically the wedding planner, and you're just like, alright, yeah, that sounds good, for opinions. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm going to start off by the engagement, the proposal, which was, I know the date, February 23rd, 2012.
That's funny, because I was actually going to bring this up to talk about myself, but I couldn't remember the date, so, again, more proof that your memory is way better than mine. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Alright, well, the whole thing kind of started where I had a feeling that he was going to propose because he's been really secretive. Because the ring, apparently he got the opinions of my sisters. And they're like, oh yeah, this is exciting, blah, blah, blah. So, and I was like, why are you talking to my sisters? Because it was just kind of out of the blue and stuff. I'm like, okay. But he had to pick up the ring, and I was with him, and he walked off and got something. He's like, oh, I'm giving you a late present for Valentine's Day. And I'm like, okay. He comes back, and he has this big square box looking thing in his pocket. And it he didn't have a baggy pocket. Like, I could see the whole thing. I'm like, what the hell is that? And he's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. We went home, and he was in my room, and he's like, oh, come back here. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I go in there, and he has a computer screen that has, like, these pictures, and it basically was like, will you marry me, Sonja? And I was like, oh, yes, and everything, and I'm like, you gotta get on one knee. So he got on one knee and asked me, and was like, I love you. And I got, like, a cool sapphire ring, real sapphire, and what's that, cubic zirconia or whatever.
I love how you say it's a cool sapphire ring. I mean, that just shows.
But it was. It had two sapphires on it, and in the middle was the diamonds.
I know. It shows, I guess, maybe compatibility of attitude, because you don't say what the typical girly girl would probably say, like, oh, it was so gorgeous, it was so beautiful, or
because I don't care. You could have given me a gumball machine ring, and I would have been happy.
You're just like, yeah, it's pretty badass.
But the negative of this is that when we announced it, we were dating for about 7 months, but we had this connection, like, we clicked immediately. We talked every day for, like, 6 hours every day for, like, 2 months. I mean, this was even further because it was February, so that's what I mean. We were talking every day, and we knew, like, a lot about each other, and, like, we just knew. But some people were like, oh, isn't it a little early? Or, like, ew, why are you getting married? That's gross. So it felt like nobody even supported us except for, like, a couple people.
I definitely, on my end, maybe it's just, again, because male psychology, I guess, had a lot of people that were very much against it. Not for the sake of me getting married, just, well, yeah, exactly that. It was more the idea, though, of, oh, well, you should stay being a bachelor and stuff like that. You should play the field more. And I don't know. I thought it was very stupid and very childish because it had nothing to do with said people. They just had to put in their 2 cents about it, I guess.
I think they're more jealous than anyone. But fast forward to 2014, like early February, we actually got okayed for an apartment. So we were moving on our own for the first time. I was getting like an actual job, and I had like a babysitting part-time job on the side. So, I mean, they were both part-time, but yeah. And you already had a job. And so the whole year of 2014 was not that great. We set a date. I set it about, I think we did it in 2013, like that fall or whatever. I was like, oh, let's do it next year. We'll do it in October. And I was like, what day should we do it? We went back and forth. I was like, I don't want it on the 10th because it was someone I knew. And I didn't want to do the 20th because I'm like, oh, that's kind of, but I was like, oh, that's too close to Halloween. And, like, we just kept going back. We're like, you know what? My favorite number is 8. Let's do October 18th. It's perfect. Saturday. Good old stuff. Well, I guess that was also someone I know's anniversary. I had no idea, but I'm like, you know what? We've been going back and forth, changing the thing, so I'm going to just choose this date, and I don't care. But when we picked the date, there were some people that were trying to ask us to change it, so one of their guest plus ones could be there.
Yeah, I thought that, again, the thing that annoyed me, the things that really bothered me during our wedding lead-up was how many people wanted us to change things around to suit them. I mean, what kind of balls does that take? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the asshole here. But it's our wedding. We should have the final say when we want to do it and how we want to do it. And I don't understand why, in our particular case, there were so many people that wanted to change the date or alter certain things to benefit them. And
yeah, but that's like asking you to change your birthday. Like, I can't do that. That's when I was born. That's like bottom line. So, well, I guess I have notes. I'm sorry. I have to...
Give me a second.
Okay. Well, going back to... Well, yeah, that was fall. We set the dates for the next fall. But going back to February, after we had our apartment, about March to April, like spring season, my bridesmaids and I went dress shopping. They're like, oh, let's do it. Let's get the dresses and stuff. I'm going to mention the company here because I don't think they exist anymore, and they really royfully effed up bad. But we went to Dev's, and we had nice dresses. Like, the color scheme was purple, black, and white. And we found some pretty cool purple dresses. And we went to the checkout. I can't even think of it here. We went to the checkout, and some of the dresses, like, there was only one dress. We had to order them, and they didn't have, like, the size for one of my sisters. So they're like, okay, we can order them from a different store or warehouse, and we'll send them to your address. My maid of honor, she got her dress. Everything was good. She filled out her information in the computer. So, I think she was getting her dress. I can't remember what they're doing. But her information was fine. Everything was good. But my sisters, there was a different girl that filled out their information, and they screwed up their addresses, and they're like, wait a minute, they didn't notice it at the time because we didn't see, like, a receipt or anything, but they got, like, a call from the bank or something like that. Well, they messed up their addresses, and they're like, well, we can't, send it to you, like, you're just gonna have to get your money back. So one of my sisters paid with cards, so that was fine. It just went back to her bank. But my other sister paid with cash, and they gave her gave it back to her in a gift card. But then the more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, well, the maid of honor's dress, I'm like, I don't really like it. It's kind of like more flashy because it's more like a prom dress than anything. So I was like, I love your dress, but I kind of want to change it. So she's like, oh, it's okay. So she sent hers back and got her money back.
Good old Bridezilla.
I'm not a Bridezilla.
I'm just picking on you.
No, I was just more thinking about it. I'm like, it don't really fit, because it wasn't really that purple either. It was like a weird purple, like pinkish purple, and it had like gold all over it. I'm like, I don't know. So that was a train wreck. I think we went back to more local town that was close to us, because we went like an hour away, and then we came back, and it was only like a 20 minutes away from our home. But we were like, oh, let's go get Sonja's dress. We didn't make an appointment or anything. We were just walk-ins. And I tried on a few wedding dresses. I tried on like this big periwinkle looking one. I really liked it, but I'm like, it might be a little too showy for the wedding. And I tried on this ridiculous big poofy one, and the bottom looked like feathers. And I was like, this ain't me, man. This ain't me. So my sister is like, oh, I got it. I got the dress. So I'm like, okay. So I tried it on. It was a lace-up bag, and I was like, oh my god, I really like this and stuff. It was fitted, and then it flared out at the bottom. It wasn't like a huge flare, but enough. It was like, I guess they call it A-line. I don't know. I'm not good. I used to be, because I used to be obsessed with like say yes to the dress and all that stuff, which we did do. Like, are you saying yes to the dress? I'm like, yeah. But the thing is, my friend took a picture. My mom, I think, did too. But when my friend took a picture to show her mom, and there was this girl in the background who was giving me a death glare, because I think they made an appointment, and I was kind of like going into their appointment, but they told her, it's fine, if we have to close, we'll keep you here, we'll just close the store. But I was like, I can't believe you got it, because it was funny, because she was just like, grr. I'm like, really? Calm down. Because we were only there for maybe a half hour total time. So, back to my bridesmaids' dresses. What happened was, my sister found this dress, and it was like a plum purple, really pretty. But when she ordered it, like a week later, she found out that it was from China, and China sizes are not like ours. They're like a couple of sizes smaller. But she's like, I think it'll fit me. I'm like, you better not get pregnant. So my other maid of honor, my maid of honor and my other bridesmaid was like, okay, so we probably shouldn't go from that website. They found one on David's Bridal. And my sister, my other bridesmaid, I've already been saying that, but whatever, it's not a big deal. She found one on David's Bridal also. And they had one shoulder, and it was like flowers that was going up. That was like the other bridesmaid's dress, but these were kind of different color purple, which was fine, so I was at this point, I'm like, just get them. So what my sister did, she got a strapless one that was the right color, but she had to add flowers to the one shoulder, which looked fine. So that was finally smooth. We're good. And I forgot to mention, I think I spent way too much money on my dress because it was a sample and they couldn't order anymore, so I basically had to get the dress as is. And with tax and all this stuff, it was like $700. I'm like, this should have been like $500 because it has to be fixed and it's a sample gown. So I was like, whatever. It's a great dress. Like it. Whatever.
So I think this is a good time to throw my hat into the ring here, because on the flip side of while Sonja was looking for her dresses and all that, I was having a little trouble deciding my groomsmen. That was probably the most trouble I had as far as setup for the wedding. My outfit, I think I spent maybe $100 on that sports coat that I bought off of Amazon.
No, the sports coat was like $30 to $50, I think.
Oh, so it wasn't even that much.
Yeah, I don't think it was that much.
So, Sonja, $700 dress. Me, I'm getting away with $50. And I think our groomsmen attire was just like black dress shirt, black pants, and a tie Sonja bought. So
yeah, I bought purple ties.
Their grand total, I mean, for them, they didn't spend a dime because none of them had to buy the stuff. But I think the ties themselves were only maybe $10 at most.
Probably around there, yeah. Maybe a little bit more, not too much. But I only had to buy for 3 people. But no, you told them to get like, because I told them black jeans. They didn't have to be like dress pants, but I think all of them did wear dress pants and a black long sleeve shirt. And some of them already had it, and I think one of your ones had to buy one. But again, those shirts aren't even that much.
So as far as me finding groomsmen, by this time, 2014, I was not I didn't have as many friends that lived around this area, or just in general didn't have many friends. So I had to look down south and around to find some people. And who I found was my nephew and 2 friends from Louisiana. And up until maybe 2 months before the wedding, I thought I was going to have these 2 from Louisiana come up. But one of them ended up backing out. Personal reasons. I'm really not going to get into it because I'm not sure why they backed out exactly. But I got this message, or I was notified of it while I was inside of a Burger King in our hometown. And while I was in that Burger King, I saw another guy who is a friend, but I wouldn't say he's necessarily the closest friend. And I guess I'll just throw it out there because why not? His name's Hudson, and some of you might know who he is.
You shouldn't say his name.
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think he'll care because
he was a mutual friend. That's why we decided.
It was a mutual friend, but I just look over at him and I was like, "Hey, Hudson, I just had someone drop out of my wedding. Do you want to be a groomsman?" He's like, "Oh my God, yes!" He was apparently excited about this prospect.
I was excited. I'm like, "Oh, I love Hudson," and he was really glad to be a part of it. That made it 10 times better.
And the reason I'm saying this also is Hudson. In the off chance you are listening, I do thank you for coming in a pinch. But man, am I surprised that you accepted that quick. So. But anyway, go on. That's the story of my groomsman.
He was very honored to be in, and I was like, "Oh, I love it." Okay, so the dresses were picked out. Everything finally was okay. So time to book the church, which wasn't very painful. I knew which church I wanted to get married in. Was one where it was near my childhood home and where evidently my father was buried. I wanted to be next to him. Well, my uncle gave me the phone number to get a hold of these people to rent it. And I was like, okay, great. Called them up. They were really nice people. Said, oh, it's $100, but the deposit's $50. You'll get that back. So it was technically only $50. I'm like, perfect, great. And that was it. They said to meet this person at the time to get the key. And, well, no. I don't think we got the key because, I don't know, the guy was super sketchy about it.
That seemed harder than it needed to be.
Yeah, no.
If I remember right.
The church was fine. The thing that was, we couldn't actually take the key. The guy was possessive over it or something. I had to call him because I guess these people actually owned it, but he was basically like the gatekeeper or something like that. But we told him when we needed it because we had it for rehearsal and the day of the wedding. He just made sure to have it unlocked and stuff. But I'm like, just give me the damn key. Whatever. That was the only painful thing for that. It was nothing that. Now, the hall, on the other hand, to have the reception, that was another story. It was painful, stressed me out, and it was just it was bad. Well, I had a couple choices before we settled on the one that gave me problems. The first hall I called wasn't that far from where we lived, and I was like, oh, it's cheaper, we'll do it, it's big and stuff like that. Well, when I called them, they were like, well, our mother just died, and we're doing funeral arrangements, so we don't know when we're going to be in the office. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, I didn't call them back because I was thinking, I'm like, well, there was an upstairs and a downstairs. I didn't want people to do some sketchy stuff downstairs because they had a dance hall upstairs and downstairs was the eating area, and I'm like, I'd rather have it on one level. So I was like, never mind for that one then. The other one, again, this one wasn't much further from that place. But when I called, the girl gave me all kinds of attitudes. Like, well, you need to do this, and if you want the kitchen, you've got to do this, you got to make sure it's clean. And, her tone of voice and everything, and, she talked down to me. I'm like, you know what? F you, I'm out. So, the third one, it's a very popular one. It was a fire hall. Well, I called. I left, I left a message on their Facebook. I left, a bunch of messages. But apparently the phone I kept leaving messages on was not anyone's actual number or something. I don't know. But I was like, okay, so I had to ask some people. I'm like, how the hell do you get a hold of these people? Well, I called a different number, and he didn't really answer that often. I finally got him, and he was like, oh, okay, we'll see you this weekend. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need the key this weekend, right? I'm like, no, I need the key for October. This was about maybe May, because I had to keep calling and whatever, but May I was like, no, I need it for October because I'm getting married. And he's like, oh, okay, we'll get you set up or something. Well, I didn't hear from the guy. I think he was having an illness or family problems, so I was trying to call the second guy in charge. That was not happening either. So a coworker of mine was like, "Oh, I know them. I can get you an application for it." So I can't remember what the application was for. Just like basically my name, address, phone number, and when I needed the hall for, like which weekend. Because usually the weekend you'd get it, and then the next day you'd clean it after the party. Well, I finally got the application, but calling these people and leaving messages and all that took about a month or 2 months. And I was like, why the hell can no one do their job? Like, why can't anyone get back to me? But after I did the application, I think it was like a couple weeks to a month, and they okayed it. Everything was good. I'm like, finally. So I could send out the invites finally, because I couldn't send the invites until I had made sure that I had everything. Because, like, if I didn't get it, they're going to a place that don't even have a thing, you know? But that was just a nightmare. I mean, I just remember just feeling like total crap, and it just, time kept going, and I'm like, well, we have family out of state and everything, and I can't even get out my invites because no one's getting back to me this fall. So, that sucked. Anyway, fast forward to September. I was pretty stressed still because of the hall, and the place we were living, our landlords kept changing things.
Yeah,
and our rent kept going up even though nothing changed with our income.
So, I'm not saying obviously where we lived, but obviously at that time we were in lower income housing, and for anybody that might be listening, as much as you can try to avoid it, don't go into those types of apartments, because from what I've heard, not just our experience, it's very rough, and there's a lot of shady things that happen. Like, they do try to, even though you're lower income, you don't have the resources, the money, they still will try to get as much of that money out of you, and they need to know a lot of information that seems unnecessary to know, like how like budgets that you might have for certain things like entertainment, etc., how much your insurance and all this stuff is. And in our case, they even wanted access to our bank account to be able to monitor it or something of that sort. I don't know if that was exactly how it went, but they wanted information.
I think they just wanted to know if you had a savings or checking account.
They wanted information on our banking and savings account. It's not worth that hassle to give out that much information. But not only that, they treat you absolutely poorly and will try to throw you out for like the least violation that imaginable. Because, I'll probably talk about that later. But there was one incident where we had the cops called on us when we did absolutely nothing, and we got a lease violation for it.
They didn't even hear our side of the story.
Yeah, that is something I can talk about some other time, because I don't need to sit here and waste Sonya's time ranting about this piece of shit place that we lived in. Just don't. Okay, low income, if you can avoid it, don't. I know some people can't, but as much as you can try to. Go ahead, Sonya, I'm done bitching.
Well, going back to, like, starting getting the wedding, me, like, being stressed but trying to, like, breathe, because everything was pretty much done except for, like, last minute things, but even the last minute things were getting done. I took off a week of work, and they were like, why does she need a week off? They had to ask someone I know, she was a family member, was like, why is she asking for a week off? And she's like, she's getting fucking married. And I was like, wait, they couldn't come to me and ask? They had to ask you why I wanted it off? And she's like, yeah, I guess. All I could think is that don't go to retail because they treat you like fucking shit. This job was the worst job I ever had, and I've worked a few retails. If
you can't tell, we have a lot of cautionary tales sprinkled in here with this particular story. But go on, I don't know, I had to add something.
Okay, so the night before the wedding, we had rehearsal. Went pretty well, short and everything, until the boys left and they almost hit my sister.
Well, to be more specific, in a car that one of my groomsmen were driving, they almost hit Sonya's sister in their car while they were looking at their rear view mirror thing, also rear view camera or whatever it was we had. They still almost hit them.
Yeah, but she told me it happened twice. Once when she was out of her car, and another time when she was driving. So he almost backed into her and almost hit her when she was just walking.
Not to mention, this gonna admit to illegal activity here. We had one of our conspirators in the trunk at the time.
Because the car was too small and you had like 6. Well, yeah, it was like you and like 4 other people, 5 other people.
Okay, so this will tie into the story of my bachelor party, which I will put in here in a minute. But yeah, basically we had 6 people with us and only 5 seats in the car that we could safely have. One of them volunteered to go in the trunk. I can't say much more than that, so we did that.
Yeah, but he thought it was funny.
Yeah, he thought it was funny until we started purposely trying to give him a headache in there. But
yeah, but he still thought that was funny too. Because I felt bad. I'm like, why did you do that? I'm like, we gotta give him a ride. And he's like, oh no, it's fine. It's fun. I'm like, okay, weirdo.
Anyway.
But I was just really stressed and like worried about money and things because our landlords are being complete assholes and all that good stuff. I always stress like that. But we went to the hall, had some pizza. But before that, I was basically just having like kind of a mental breakdown, and I went outside and tried to talk to Matt on his friend's cell phone or whatever. She didn't have one at the time. And I was like, I'm sorry for calling. I was just like, I'm just so stressed and worried and stuff, and you calmed me down a little bit. But like after I was crying, and my mom and my sister were like, where is she? Where is she? I wasn't far. I was just outside on the end of the building of our hall, and it was at night, so. But I was like underneath the light. Like, Sonja, where are you? Sonja, where are you? And I was like, I'm over here. And they saw me crying because I was just stressed and everything. And they're like, are you having second thoughts, having cold feet? I'm like, hell no. I was like, I'm just worried about money and shit and what things are gonna do after. Like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about that crap. But when I go in, my ex-sister-in-law called me a bridezilla because I yelled at the kids to stop like messing around, because I'm like, if you guys break anything, you're paying for it. But in my retrospect, how am I a bridezilla? Because I ain't gonna, if they break something, they're gonna pay for it, not me, because they ain't watching their kids.
So the same night that they're setting up the reception hall, and I'm sure some people are probably thinking I should have been there too.
No, because we couldn't see each other the next day. We were gonna be split up anyway.
We would have, but whatever. So I was having my bachelor party. And my bachelor party consisted of my groomsmen, my other nephews, and one other guy that went to the wedding, but he wasn't involved in the wedding in any way. So it was a wild night, I tell you. I still can't remember most of it. Blackout drunk. Yeah. Strippers.
Oh, yeah.
So what really happened is probably the most insane thing you'll ever imagine at a bachelor party. We played Pokemon. We played Pokemon.
You played more than Pokemon. You played Capcom too, or whatever your nephews did.
We did play Marvel vs. Capcom, and we also played Smash Brothers on the 64. We ordered, obviously, a couple pizzas. We did have alcohol there, but I pretty much was the only one that drank anything.
Yeah.
I think everybody had one, except my younger nephews.
Well, they weren't of age.
Yeah, and I'm a good uncle.
Well, the thing I was going to add, the day before, I bought a bunch of snacks for the boys, and those chips were all gone the next day.
All gone the next day? They were gone within an hour.
Exactly.
Especially
but I bought 5 bags of chips, and they were all gone.
And we had a sheet pizza also, and that same groomsman we mentioned earlier that I thanked for his time, Hudson, must have polished off 1 bag and a half of pizza by himself. But you would have thought we drank a lot more, or did a lot more, because we were pretty spread out the next morning when Sonja's mom came to get us.
Yeah, I had to hear this from my mom the next day. What happened?
But we pretty much passed out. I mean, I was in the bedroom, and my best man there was in the guest bedroom.
Because we had a mattress.
Everybody else was spread out, despite having couches and places for them to sleep, just spread out all over the floor like a bad Tetris game. And one of them fell asleep right in front of the front door, if I'm not mistaken. And your mom kind of had to push him out of the way.
No, it was in front of the closet door.
In front of the closet, okay.
But the reason she was getting in our closet, because she was getting me a hoodie, because I forgot it the day before. So I asked her, I'm like, can you get me a hoodie? And she's like, oh yeah. So she kind of had to push one of your nephews, like, hey. But you were still in the bedroom, but one of your nephews went back there and woke you up and like, hey, your mother-in-law's here or whatever.
But one thing I almost forgot that is at least somewhat funny enough for me to mention. As Sonja had said, because she was stressed out, she gave me a call, and I was talking to her on the phone. And while I was talking to her on the phone, maybe I should preface this, I had a pizza that I put in for one of my friends, because they have different preferences, and they didn't eat the same thing that we...
I remember it. It was a grilled cheese pizza.
Yeah, they eat different things than we do. It was a grilled cheese pizza. And I put that in the oven around the time Sonja called, and we were talking for a while, and I just started smelling something like, shit!
No. What happened was, I asked how he liked the cheese pizza, and you're like, oh my god, it's still in the oven! I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, so I had to put Sonja on hold while I go take this burnt pizza out of the oven.
How black was it? Was it just brown, or was it almost black?
It was probably not the worst I've ever burnt something, but that ain't saying much.
How did you not smell it? I'm surprised the fire
I did, like I said, like after you mentioned it, I did smell it. I'm like, shit.
How'd you not smell it before that is what I'm getting at, Brody. We only talked for like 10-15 minutes.
I was preoccupied, okay?
You can still smell it.
So, yeah. Almost set our house on fire during a bachelor party where no one drank. Go figure. But anyway,
woo, those are good times. Alright, so that was, yeah, I just thought it was funny because Mom's like, yeah, there was a couple people like on the floor. And I'm like, why were they on the floor? Because I only think, 4 people spent the night? I don't know why. Well, your nephew had to be...
No, the only one that didn't... Sorry, cut you off. The only one that didn't spend the night was one of them that... The one that went to the wedding but wasn't actually involved in the wedding. He didn't stay the night. Everybody else did. But I remember also after we woke up, my nephews, for whatever reason, the younger ones, decided they were going to clean up after this party themselves. Nobody asked them to do it, but they did.
They did the dishes. I was like, oh my god, good job, boys. But I was like, why? To have fun.
But anyway, continue.
Well, that's what I mean. I was just... My mom's saying, like, there was, like, a bunch of bodies everywhere. And I'm like, why? Because your nephew had to work the next morning, so he slept in the guest room by himself. And I'm like, you could have had someone with him. Because I, like, took out a bunch of pillows and blankets before I left, because I knew I wasn't going back there. But yeah, that was a pretty fun night, I guess. So, wedding day, I was, like, ready, excited. I was like, oh yeah. Like, I felt a lot better. I just wanted to do this, have fun, all that good stuff. But I stayed at my mom's, and I showered, and we headed to the hall to finish up the cake and do, like, a veggie platter and, like, a meat platter and, like, whatever else to put in the fridge. And, like, we finished up, I think, a little bit of decorating, even though most of it was done. So when we went back to the house, my sister did my hair, the flower girls, because I had both my nieces, my oldest nieces at the time, be in the wedding. My mom's, my other sister, yeah, she did her own hair too. So that's what, the two flower girls, my mom, my sister, mine, and yeah, that was like 6 people's hair. I felt bad for her because she only had like a few minutes time to like fix hers. But my maid of honor, she got it done at a different place because she's like, oh, it's fine, my mom and her is gonna do it. I'm like, okay, so I told her that we could probably do it. But they helped, my mom and my maid of honor helped me in my dress and laced it all up. And we were a little late, only about a half hour, because we kind of spent too much time at the hall and we forgot the necklaces, because my sister bought necklaces for all the bridesmaids that matched, and we forgot our bouquets, so we had to go get those. But I was outside. She dropped us off and went to the house real quick. It was only like 3 minutes away, and had to come back. But everyone's like, "Oh, you were late. You're late." I'm like, "No, I was here on time. I was just outside." Walked down the aisle with my mom and my brother because, like I said, my father had passed that year, and I cried during the ceremony because I was just like so happy and like, oh my god, this is happening. And we took a lot of pictures in the church and a couple at my dad's grave. My brother was the DJ, and it was overall it was a great wedding. And the only thing I think like, it kind of ended too early, I think. Like, because my sister's lasted until, like, 1 a.m. Mine lasted until about 8, 9 o'clock. And we had, like, the whole hall basically cleaned that night. The next morning, we just got the trash and, like, swept and mopped.
Granted, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm an old man, so I don't stay out late.
Well, that night, I think you did carry me over the threshold, but all we did was chat up. No sex. Sorry.
Oh, well, nobody needs to know that. But
well, people are going to be thinking, but no, that didn't happen. We just sat down and talked. And
I'm gonna be frank here. How many people actually do go home on their wedding night and have sex? I would think that you're probably very exhausted from that day, which we were.
I don't know. Some people might, or they just lie about it. I ain't gonna lie about it. But something interesting happened early in the morning, and I'm gonna let Matt tell that story.
Explosive diarrhea.
It wasn't explosive diarrhea.
So what happened? First of all, we got home, and one of the groomsmen, one of the ones from the south, we had to help him find a hotel room because he, I guess, got the wrong impression that me and my wife wanted to be alone on our wedding night.
Oh, we gave him plenty of time. We told him, like, the day before.
I mean, yeah, we mentioned it, but I don't know if he made plans or if he thought if he didn't know we were gonna be like, hey, yeah, we want this night to ourselves at least, you know. No offense to him, it's just, yeah. Anyway, so we get to the bedroom, and we settle in, and we just basically go to sleep. Like I said, I mean, very boring for people who are expecting something else. Anyway, after we went to bed, about 3 in the morning, I get this rumble in my stomach, and I knew trouble was coming, and I remember going to the bathroom, and when I come back, I feel Sonja just go, nudge, nudge, hey, can you go to a Price Chopper?
We were living right next door.
Yeah, we were living near a Price Chopper, which, for those in the South or wherever that might be listening, is a grocery store similar to Winn-Dixie or whatever else have you.
And they were open 24 hours. That's the only reason I asked.
But yeah, we were within walking distance, but it was cold as hell that night because it actually snowed on our wedding day.
It snowed, rained, and all that good stuff.
But it was cold as hell, and Sonja's like, hey, can you go get some, something for
Tums.
the Tums, yeah, which we didn't have.
Because somebody had to eat that last one.
So I'm sitting there trying to find something for stomach relief at Price Chopper at 3 in the morning on our wedding night because something, if it happened to both of us, I'm just saying something had to give us food poisoning.
Yeah, we had like a potluck. We had my family members like bring something so we'd have enough food. Well, somebody had some kind of food poisoning in theirs because we got sick.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, depending on how you look at it, probably wasn't the best way to cap off our marriage, to begin our marriage, but at the same time, with it being us, I think that's probably the only way it could have started, was with diarrhea and stomach pains.
Well, I just felt like I was going to vomit. I don't think I had any bodily fluids.
Oh, I definitely did, but it was a bad night, I guess.
Yeah.
A good night that ended bad is a better way to put it.
Yeah. Well, the last thing to kind of finish up is our honeymoon. We were supposed to go back to Louisiana with his friend, but we were worried because we're like, how are we supposed to get back up to New York? So I was just like, I don't feel comfortable leaving with him and not knowing when we're coming back.
Well, it was that, yes, because we hadn't quite settled on a way to get back. But it was also, I guess, because neither of us had a license at that time.
Yeah. The
idea of him driving by himself that whole distance, because we were, like we said, we were driving down, and granted he was probably used to it, but at the same time we were kind of nervous that he'd be able to do the trip. Again, no offense against him or anything, but
yeah, there was a lot of factors against it, so we were just like, let's not. Where we ended going is to a town about an hour away from us, to this really nice hotel. We stayed for about 2 or 3 nights. That had a pool. We went swimming every day that we were there. It was fun. And we were just happy to be husband and wife. We didn't care.
Yeah, and really, besides one of the restaurants we went to. I don't know if it was that time or not.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention it too.
Besides that particular restaurant, it was a pretty good honeymoon, even though it wasn't like what would be your typical honeymoon retreat. It wasn't like we went into some resort anywhere or Hawaii.
No, but I think that's when we went to Halloween City. I think that was.
That is one of the times we went.
Yeah, it was in an abandoned like Toyota, like dealership. It wasn't there anymore, so it's something that's abandoned. We're gonna do that. But it was our first Halloween City, and it was awesome. I was like, yes.
In case you're one of the listeners that don't know, Sonja is a very big fan of Halloween and all things kind of spooky and creepy.
Halloween every day.
So this was, I guess, just as good as Hawaii for her.
Yeah.
So that was basically the story of our wedding. Is there anything else you want to add to that before I continue this?
Not really, just that we got like a lot of pictures. Your family member gave us a lot, and I filled like almost filled 2 albums with all the pictures. We didn't have like a professional photographer. My sister just used her camera because it was better than mine, and used my SD card and took a bunch of pictures, and they were really nice, and I had a lot. I mean, I kind of did want like the cheesy kind of pictures, but I'm like, those aren't real. I mean, they're beautiful, but I like real photos.
Alright, so to end this episode, as I had asked last week, I had asked for whoever is listening to possibly leave some questions for us that we will answer at the end of our episodes. And that offer is extended again this week, so please leave a comment with a question.
Any question, what we just mentioned earlier podcasts, all of that.
Either leave that question here on YouTube, leave me a message on Facebook, anything
or
like that.
one of our Facebooks.
But as far as this week, we did not technically get any questions, and I'm not surprised. But there is a couple things first I'm going to clear up because it was based on a different question someone asked. First, it was last week's or the week before? Yeah, it was the week before's podcast. We talked about how I got hit by the car by some bike shop, and how Sonja's father was there as well. I might have made it a little confusing. Sonja's father was not the one who hit me with the car. He was simply the person that showed up after I got hit, and he helped me out by wrapping my wound up in his shirt.
Sorry to cut you off. We were at a McDonald's on a family meal day, and he saw it from the parking lot. I was like, oh my god, that kid got hit, and ran to him.
So, just to clear that up. And someone also asked if it was ever in any newspapers or anything like that. To the best of my knowledge, it was not on the news or in any sort of newspaper. We did obviously have police that showed up and an ambulance. But as far as any sort of notoriety or being mentioned anywhere else, it wasn't.
Yeah, I tried looking it up. It might be like in an old library book, because this was, you said it was like in 2000. They didn't have any social media or anything then.
It was 2000 or 2001, and it'd be very hard to look that up, even just in general. Because I wouldn't even know where to begin to look, so I'd have to know exactly when I got hit, and I don't.
So I mean, the library would probably have it, because they do document those things, like in old newspapers or something like that, because they might have had like a little snippet, but they probably don't upload that. They probably go as far back as when they had like any social media, like on Google or Facebook or anything like that. So if you want to look at anything before they got that, they'd probably be in the library.
The only other thing here is, like I mentioned, the questions. Instead of taking the questions from the listeners here, I did look up something here for me and Sonja to answer, just a random question I found on Google. And that is, what would be your least favorite commercial that is airing right now?
Least favorite commercial? There's a lot, bro.
Yeah, and the question was, what's your least favorite commercial airing right now and why? Now, I 100% would say any commercial that Google puts out for any of their products or services, because
you keep singing that stupid song.
That's exactly why, is they have really annoying songs in them, and they only play, especially if you're watching something on YouTube or streaming service, they play just the smallest little bit of that song, and you hear it constantly because they play that same shit over and over again. So yeah, anything by Google. Literally anything.
Mine would probably be the Expedia one where it's like they change the words of all by myself.
Yeah.
Because that one plays constantly on the streaming services we have.
Anyway, thanks for joining us this week. Next week we will be talking about who the hell knows. I haven't decided yet.
Do you want to talk about how the pandemic did our
Yeah,
lives?
that pandemic seems like a good idea. So maybe we will do that. So until next time, thanks again for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. And please, like I said, share this video. But we will talk to you later. Bye.
And we're out.
I'm out.